Welcome to Sustainable News. Let's start with tourism. Last time it was Amsterdam, this time Hawaii and Italy. The mayor of Maui, and that is Hawaii, they have asked airlines for fewer tourists. This amongst a travel boom. Obviously, destinations have globally faced problems caused by COVID shutdowns, and this is one of the world's most popular tourist destination, and they are struggling with the return of US holidaymakers. In Europe, article from CNN, they're saying that the Italian tourist city Florence has banned evening walks, and this to halt overcrowding. So they have banned access to 6 areas of the historic city center. You're not allowed to walk after 9 p.m. unless you have a receipt from a restaurant. So if you already have eaten, you eat at 6, 7 o'clock, you want to go for a stroll after your meal, you'll be fined up to $1,200. Okay, next, an article from the Independent newspaper here in the UK. Are carbon labels the next big thing in sustainable travel? Contributing to the article was Thomas Power. He is the CEO of Pura Aventura. I asked him about carbon labels, how the industry should proceed, and why his company carbon compensates 160% on the trips of his clients.
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is to measure. So I suppose the first thing is to acknowledge that it's our responsibility. At that point, you then have to start measuring. So really just working out what that impact is. From my point of view, I think the first thing we do is we start to mitigate, so to offset properly.
Okay.
So the 160% was me trying to be clever.
Okay.
And the idea that in some way carbon offset or mitigation is an accurate science is also, frankly, preposterous. So get a realistic idea of the actual impact, and then just overcompensate, because you're going to miss stuff. There's going to be some issue somewhere. Some of the trees are going to die. Just go way over the top. There's no point putting trees in the ground if the people who live around and about are starving.
Yeah.
Or are going hungry.
Absolutely. Okay, next I asked him about the Netflix documentary Seaspiracy, where they talked about sustainable labels. Obviously, they talk about the marine industry, but they say they're all misleading. There is no way to decimate wildlife populations sustainably. One of the organizations mentioned there is the Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, very much slated in the documentary. What they said was that labeling is a conspiracy to benefit the global fisheries industries. Now, I asked Thomas, if you exchange fish label for travel label, I can see a future where companies would actually pay for a positive label.
The profusion of labels in the industry and the market, and green, 5 green leaves, and this, it's highly, highly problematic. And I think it's highly problematic because it is so open to abuse.
Yep. And
also, possibly worse, is that it leads to total confusion on the part of consumer. So consumer, with all the best will in the world, is seeking to act responsibly or buy responsibly, buy sustainably. And so they're seeking out these labels. And then the value of that label gets undermined. And they just think, what's the point? What's the point?
Okay, final thoughts then. Offset schemes, labeling, does it lead to greenwashing? Is it good? Is it bad? And which ones are actually good? You'll be able to find the full interview on our podcast, which should be online shortly.
I get that a lot of offset schemes are all about the label and very little about the actual sort of carbon reduction activity.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think there's a hell of a lot of amazing projects out there that
Absolutely.
have. With a B Corp certification, it's very, very much harder for that to happen. Just because there's such a lot of transparency that comes in around that process, and you have to recertify every 3 years.
Right.
Plus, there's kind of community governance from within it. So it's not that it is perfection. It's not that it isn't. There aren't flaws within it, but it is not a kind of a label you get to stick on. You earn that. You earn the right to be a B Corp, and you have to keep earning that right. But the idea that we can just pop a green hat on and we're okay is, I think, has to go out with the arc.
Okay, some really positive news from BBC and also first the national news. And they say that Saudi Arabia and the World Bank, they're creating a 100 million US dollar fund. This is to develop sustainable tourism, and the kingdom aims to develop its tourism sector. This is the only global fund dedicated solely to sustainable international tourism and growth. Now, Saudi Arabia is developing a number of sustainable projects. One of the projects is NEOM, which is a futuristic city which comprises a nature reserve, coral reefs, heritage sites. But what I really, really like myself is forest, in particular rainforests. And if they do logging, do so in a sustainable way. Now, this particular project in Saudi Arabia is that it's aiming to plant 10 billion trees as part of its green initiative. This, according to Mr. Al Khatib, and he is the kingdom's tourism minister. Then the BBC also talking about climate change, saying that planting extra trees will boost rainfall across Europe. This is a new study, and that has found that converting agricultural land to forest would boost summer rains by 7.6% on average. And Prime Minister Boris Johnson is saying that the UK is aiming to plant roughly 30 million new trees every year by 2025. Now, a lot of good news there. Some also say we really need to stop generating those emissions in the first place.